Hello everybody, just want to share with you today how to remove the cylinder head off of a MOTO 250cc engine. This is an engine that's found in a lot of Chinese scooters and ATVs, and it's fairly common for a lot of the products that are coming out of China. So most of what's already been done here, this is on a Roquetta Bali MC 13 250cc scooter. I've already taken all the plastic and everything out of the way, as you can see. I've gotten to the point where I have actually removed the cylinder head cover. You can see the exposed camshaft and the intake and exhaust valves and everything else inside the cylinder head. So, get the process going here for how to take this guy actually off the motor. Okay, step one, we need to get the engine set to cylinder at top dead center, which you can do by removing your belt cover on the opposite side and just turning. Once you've removed your spark plug, you can turn that fairly easily on the opposite side. And I don't know if you can see the timing marks or anything here. Yeah, there's one going by. You can see it. I had it at the top of the compression stroke, so now this will be the downstroke, and that'll be the top of the exhaust stroke right there, and then it'll turn around again for the intake stroke and come back up for the compression stroke. And you can see my other little timing mark over there. There are two horizontal lines that run across the camshaft sprocket, and you want to line those up exactly with the top edge of the cylinder head. Also, you have that little reference mark at the top that'll help you see exactly where top and center is too. Make sure you get those two little lines on the camshaft sprocket lined up with the top edge of the cylinder head. Okay, next, after you've gotten yourself at top dead center on the compression stroke, then you're going to come down here along the side of the cylinder jug and loosen this bolt right here, which is your cam chain tensioner bolt. Okay. You want to try and be as careful as you can taking this bolt out. See if I can get in there where you can see what I'm doing. Okay. As it comes out, there's a spring behind this which holds tension on the cam chain tensioner. And as it comes out, see that little spring. It's not a little spring, it's a very long spring. It comes out with it. And there you go. Okay. Now the tension is off of your cam chain. Now you can loosen the camshaft and take the chain off. Okay. Now we're going to loosen this bolt and this bolt to release the camshaft out of the cylinder head. Once we have the camshaft loose, then we can take the chain off of the camshaft sprocket. Have some wire or some string or something available for you to use to keep the chain. Once you take it off the sprocket, the chain will want to, gravity works, it'll want to pull it off into the crankshaft or into the crankcase down there. That would be bad. We don't want that to happen, so we'll have some wire handy nearby to tie it up with and make sure it doesn't fall through. Okay, we have our camshaft out. You can see there I've got the chain wired up and it's just hanging here, so it doesn't fall off into the crankcase. You have to work it. You have to work the camshaft back and forth a little bit to get you some play in that little the chain guide down there along the cylinder jug before it'll let you get the chain loose. So it's not just automatically going to pop off there. You kind of have to work it a little bit. Next, we have 4 bolts or 4 acorn nuts to take off in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 12 millimeter in size. Okay. Also, on this side, we have 2 8mm bolts that I've already removed. One of them holds a stay for the oil line. That's right here. The bolts are there. I've already pulled those out. When you pull your camshaft off, you're going to want to look at it, check your bearings, okay, make sure that you turn freely and that there's no play back and forth in either one of the bearings. If there is, you need new bearings. Okay, I have cylinder head removed as well as the gasket. You can see, if you can see it very well in the video or not, but you can still see some old gasket material stuck to the head down there. Okay, some junk that's been caught in there. That shouldn't be there. It's probably where my oil and my water was mixing, which is why I had to do this in the first place. And here's the old head gasket. See, a lot of the sealing material is gone, which is probably why I had my leaks in the first place. Okay. And again, this is another thing. I don't know if you can see it very well in the video or not, but you can kind of see along the side axis of that gasket, and that stuff is just paper thin. Okay. Almost a joke. I've never seen a head gasket that was so tiny. So my replacement here, it's much thicker. You can't really see it that well in the box, but or in the bag, but it's a lot thicker material going onto it there. I have my head gasket over here draining. The oil is left out of it. There's a lot of gasket material left on the top of the head here. We'll get that scraped and cleaned off, and get it all cleaned off of the actual cylinder housing as well, and then we'll start reassembling. Okay, we have the old cylinder head cleaned off pretty well. All the old gasket material is gone. Same deal on the cylinder jug. I have installed the new head gasket in place. The bolts keeping tension on the chain here so it doesn't fall in the crankcase, and we will just do the reverse of removing it. Set the cylinder head back in place and get her tightened down. Okay, I have the cylinder head reinstalled on top of the motor. I have not tightened down these bolts just yet. Let me show you something else first. Before, you remember I showed you the tensioner that adjusts the chain on the timing chain inside here. Okay, we had to remove this little bolt that had the spring attached to it earlier. Okay, and it goes inside this housing. Okay, and inside the cylinder wall there, it has this little rod that over time, as the chain slackens, that spring puts pressure on this, and it extends this out and keeps tension on the chain so the engine doesn't slip out of time. Okay. Then we have to reset this before we can put the chain back on the cam sprocket. So there's this little jaw clip right here. Mash that down with your finger, or with a screwdriver or whatever. Mash it down, open that up, and then you can just push in this little rod. And now we're ready to adjust the tension back on the chain again. Okay, that gives us slack so we can put the chain back around the camshaft sprocket when we put the camshaft back in. You can do that same procedure while it's still inside the cylinder head or inside the cylinder wall. If you've got a couple of long handle flat head screwdrivers, you can actually reach down from the top here inside that area and do the same thing I just showed you. I just figured it'd be easier for you to see exactly how that works with it off. Okay, we are on to the next stage. We are going to set the timing. Okay, this is, of course, the right side engine cover. Oil points there. There's your water pump. You know, there's a few bolts missing. I've removed this oil line off the side of the motor just to make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. Inside here, you'll be able to see the timing mark. It's a little tiny T that's labeled inside that hole. It's kind of hard to see. This is why I've got a nice light set up here where you can see it nice and clear. You got to watch out with your chain up here. Use your hand or something as you're rotating the crankshaft to get your timing mark lined up. Don't depend on that wire to do it, because it'll snag on that wire and then it won't turn, and then when it finally does turn, it'll pop off the wire and fall in the crankcase, and then you got a whole other set of problems. So just use your finger, something to keep tension on the chain, hold it up while you're turning the crankshaft. Once you get the T lined up inside there, then your cylinder is at top dead center again, and you're ready to reinstall your camshaft. Okay, we have the timing mark lined up inside there. Video just doesn't do it justice. You really can't see it. It is just so tiny, but lined up right underneath this timing mark, that notch that you see right there, there's a little bitty T that's stamped on the inside of your rotating shaft inside here, and you can see it's just stamped right on the edge of that. Like I said, you really can't see it on the video, but it's there. Alright, now we are ready to finish tightening down the cylinder head bolts. Which, you know, these 4 bolts here that we took off earlier are nuts, acorn nuts. Tighten those down, and then we can reinstall the camshaft, making sure that we line up its markings with the edge here, just like we did before we took it off, and then put our chain back on, and then reinstall our tensioner spring and bolt there. Okay, these 4 bolts here, the CF MOTO manual tells you to tighten them anywhere from 2.2 to 2.6 kilogram meters. Okay, now in foot-pounds that translates out to anywhere between 15 and about 18 and a half foot-pounds. So I'm gonna go right about 17 foot-pounds. Now you want to tighten these at quarter-turn intervals, okay, going diagonally from each other. So you know, do a little crisscross pattern there. And once you get tension on them, I don't go more than a quarter of a turn, which is not going to take long to get me to, you know, about 17 foot-pounds. Okay, we've tightened the cylinder head bolts, each one of these, to 17 foot-pounds. Tighten them in a crisscross pattern. Went about 4 or 5 times over each one of them, just making sure they were all tight. There's 2 more bolts on the side of the cylinder head over here. This one I've already reinstalled, but I haven't tightened yet. You can see it's a little loose. And this one I still haven't put in. These are not torque bearing, so you don't need to necessarily torque them down, but just, you know, tighten them snug when you put these back in. All right, now we are ready to reinstall our camshaft. All right. Here, we want to make sure we set the bearings back in there nice and smooth, but we want to make sure the intake and exhaust cam lobes are pointed down, okay, or as downward as you can get them. Okay. And you look at your little timing marks here, you can see the little lines I was talking about earlier. Make sure that these lines, okay, line up horizontally with the edge of the cylinder head here, okay, and with this hole pointing upward. Right? So you lay it in there like so. Make sure those cam lobes are pointing down, and making sure to line up these marks with the side of the cylinder head wall. And once that is done, take the camshaft retainer, seat it over the bearing, and start the bolts back in. Once you have these tightened and you have the camshaft lined up, like we said before, the timing marks lined up on the edge of the cylinder head wall over there, then you can set your chain back on. Make sure you get a good connection on all the teeth of the chain with the teeth of the camshaft sprocket, and then you can reset your tensioner after that. Okay, I have the cam chain back reinstalled on the camshaft sprocket, and my timing marks are still lined up. My T is still lined up with the timing mark inside the crankcase down here, and I'm going to rotate the engine a couple of times, make sure everything stays lined up. If it does, we're good to go, and I will reinstall my tensioner spring. Rotated the engine a couple of times. My T still lines up in the notch, and my timing marks on the camshaft sprocket still line up horizontally with the edge of the cylinder head. So now we are ready to reinstall the tensioner spring. This may require 2 hands, so I may not get to show you this part. Okay, what you guys didn't get to see was the last 10 minutes of frustration trying to get that little guy back in there with the spring in front of it. But it's in there now. It's in place. Timing marks are still lined up on everything. I'm going to go ahead and rotate the crankshaft again a couple more times. Just make sure with the tension on the chain that everything's still going to line up. I don't see why it wouldn't, but I'm just going to make sure. And if everything's copacetic from that point, then it's just reassembling, just putting everything back together. So that's how you take your head gasket off and replace it, and that's how you set the timing on these little CF MOTO 250cc, what they call the 172 millimeter engine. So, hope this helps you. Thanks for watching.